You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Brian Kelly and Sam Pittman were both on the SEC Coaches Teleconference on Wednesday, and I think there are two gigantic stories surrounding this game. One is the intangible, which we've talked about a lot, the letdown effect for LSU. That's one. Two is the very real, very tangible, very significant question of KJ Jefferson's health. If you've not watched Arkansas at all this season, KJ Jefferson is their starting quarterback, and he's a very good player. He has thrown for a hair under 2,000 yards. He's actually right on par with Jaden Daniels. Jaden's thrown for 1,994 yards. KJ Jefferson, 1,981 yards. Jefferson, 17 touchdowns, 3 picks. Daniels, 14 touchdowns, the 1 pick. The caveat, the asterisk is KJ Jefferson missed the Mississippi State game. So that's in one fewer game. And Jefferson also is a really dynamic runner, and that's pretty much the core of what he does in this offense. He is a big physical dude at about 245, 250 pounds, and his ability to run the football is kind of his big differentiator. He's listed at 6'3", 242, and he is, at this point in the season, he's rushed for 425 yards, an average of 3.6 a carry. Keep in mind, though, you do have sack-adjusted yardage, but 16 rushing touchdowns in his career, 6 on the season. That is their offense, is KJ Jefferson lining up kind of in a single wing and running the football with their big running back sort of offset how they all handle it. The problem that Arkansas has run into here of late is that KJ Jefferson's been injured. Jefferson missed the Mississippi State game, and it was injured against Alabama and missed the following week against Mississippi State. The game he missed against Mississippi State, Arkansas lost 40-17. They were woefully inept offensively. Malik Hornsby throwing was 8 of 17. 8 of 17. Now, he threw for 234 because Mississippi State's Mississippi State, but 8 of 17. A touchdown and 2 picks. Hornsby carried it 8 times for 114. You can tell what Arkansas is offensively. They are an offense that centers around their quarterback's ability to run the football, but they are single-dimensional when it comes to that. And so they lost 40-17 to Mississippi State when Jefferson did not play. Jefferson has a shoulder injury as well. And all this week against before the Liberty game, Jefferson was very limited. And the reports out of Arkansas this past week where he wasn't even throwing at practice leading up to the Liberty game, and boy, did it show. Arkansas lost that game 21-19. They got down 21-0 before they kicked a field goal late in the first half. It was like literally as time expired before the end of the first half, they got on the board. So they were down 21-3 at half. They got a safety. So it was 21-5 Liberty going into the fourth quarter. And Arkansas scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They had a 2-point conversion attempt to tie the game with a minute and 11 seconds left to go, and they came up short. It was an incomplete pass into the end zone. So Liberty ends up beating them 21-19, but it's just evident that offensively they are not right when KJ Jefferson isn't right, and he does not appear right. So what's he doing right now? Sam Pittman on the SEC Coaches Teleconference on Wednesday gave an update on KJ Jefferson.
That's still, a few days away. KJ threw some on Monday, not much at all yesterday. I don't know exactly, Tom, what he'll do today, but that's still kind of a fluid situation. But there hasn't been a whole lot of change from last week to this week, except for KJ's thrown a little bit more than what he did last week.
So he's throwing a little bit more, but not much change. You're talking about a dude who's a physical quarterback who runs a lot, who already doesn't have great receiving options. Remember, Traylon Burks was their big receiver a year ago, was a first-round draft pick. He's gone. And now you're talking about a quarterback with an injured shoulder trying to go against this LSU defense. What if KJ can't go against LSU?
Malik Hornsby He's had a really good week of practice. The team's confident in him. And so either way, whatever happens, whether we play KJ or whether we play Malik, we'll feel like we'll have a guy that can go back there the team believes in and execute our game plan.
There's truth in what Sam Pittman said. And the truth is the game plan for Arkansas doesn't necessarily change. KJ Jefferson, Malik Hornsby, both are athletic dudes that are thinking run. I mean, you can run off of your quarterback's athleticism. That's what they are. And they've got some really good running backs. Raheem Sanders is already over 1,100 rushing yards on the season. So when you've got a 1,000-yard rusher still with 3 games to play and KJ Jefferson, that action has been very potent for Arkansas running the football. The problem is when you look at their receivers, they just don't have the really dominant threat. Jaden Hazelwood is a transfer from Oklahoma. He's got 44 catches for 553. Matt Landers is their number 2 with 35 catches. He actually leads in receiving yards at 594. Both those guys have 3 touchdowns. After that, it's Trey Knox, their tight end. It's Raheem Sanders, the running back. They're just very limited in the pitch and catch game at Arkansas, and their pitch and catch comes off of the running game. So if the quarterback isn't able to run and make a defense respect that, then you really can't set up any of the passing offense as well. So that's what we're watching throughout the week is KJ Jefferson's status. And if you're LSU, man, you really like your matchup here because this isn't complicated. This is a see-ball, hit-ball type offense. And listen, Kendall Briles a very good offensive coordinator. We've talked about him a ton. But this offense, without a real legitimate threat as a receiver, I mean, they were so different a year ago when they had Traylon Burks. I mean, he was just he tilted the field because you had this big physical pass catcher who made you respect his ability to win any type of one-on-one matchup. He was an 1,100-yard receiver a year ago with double-digit touchdowns. Well, he's in the NFL now, and they don't really have that next out. It's supposed to be Hazelwood, who's had a nice season, but he was injured at the start of the season as well, and just hasn't worked where he's been this super dominant threat like LSU has seen from other places. So this isn't like you're facing Tennessee with that 3-headed monster at receiver. It's a very different challenge. Now, we said there's 2 things. One is obviously the physical storyline of KJ Jefferson's health. The other is the intangible of LSU and the letdown. It's a little incredible, but Brian Kelly has won 17 consecutive November games. It dates back, obviously, to his time at Notre Dame, and then the game Saturday against Alabama. The last time Brian Kelly lost in November was 2017. For context, that was Ed Orgeron's first season, and LSU played that Notre Dame team in the Citrus Bowl in Ed's first year. And Notre Dame that season lost twice in November. They lost early in November at Miami. They kind of got taken to the woodshed down in Miami. And then in the regular season finale, they lost to Stanford in a close game. That's the last time Brian Kelly lost a November football game. So you're talking about a streak that's extended 5 years. It's 17 games since he's lost in the month of November. And then part of that is just the attention to detail and preparing a team to be healthy and playing its best by the end of the year. And we've seen that, haven't we? I mean, LSU has continued to improve as this season's gone along, and they have paced themselves to be ready for this time of year. Now, Brian Kelly was asked again, like he was on Monday, about sort of like avoiding the letdown and handling success. And this is what he talked about when he was asked about being just in a different position now, where you're no longer the underdog. You're the team that's been winning and is expected to win. So how do you handle this success?
With the success that we've had, we've entered into a new part of how we think, and our team needs to now handle success, and that means preparing the right way, avoiding distractions, and really working on what they've been good at, and that is day-to-day. Certainly preparation, their practice, being better at all the details, and so we hope to continue that as we get ready for another great offense in Arkansas.
And one more from Brian Kelly. When he was asked about winning 17 straight games in November, he said great players and kind of talked about the really preparation, but he did elaborate a bit more on sort of that secret sauce.
Use a little bit of the science to help you look at player loads and making sure your team's getting stronger with your weight training program during the year. Nutrition, fatigue, all those things play a part, and I think a little bit of the science helps you with that as well, and making sure your kids are mentally and physically not overloaded and fatigued.
One of the things that's just abundantly clear with Brian Kelly and just becoming so obvious to all of us, and we've said it often, but it's his attention to detail. And so when he talks about load management and avoiding fatigue and all of that, it does matter. And when you look at Notre Dame, it's not like these November schedules have been padded with layups. Now, they didn't play a ranked team in November last year. They played Navy, Virginia, Georgia Tech, and then at Stanford. But they were all blowout wins, 34-6, 28-3, 55-0. 45-14. You go back to the COVID year, which obviously was just a different year for everybody. Even in that season, they had arguably Brian Kelly's biggest win of his coaching career. They beat number 1 Clemson. That was on November the 7th. They beat number 1 Clemson on November the 7th in double overtime. And the next week they had to go on the road to Chestnut Hill to play Boston College. By the way, that was in front of 0 fans. There was a game, the state of Massachusetts, they were not allowing fans to attend, so that was in front of 0 fans. A completely sterile environment, and they hung 45 on BC and won by 2 touchdowns. They also beat 19th ranked North Carolina on the road. They blew out Syracuse at home. I mean, it's not like this is a one-off type talking point. In 2019, their November games were Virginia Tech at Duke, against number 23 Navy, who they beat 52-20. They beat Boston College 40-7, and they won at Stanford 45-24. So you can see the point. It's not just like it's a one-off or they're loading up against weak opponents. In 2018, they beat 12th ranked Syracuse 36-3. They won at Southern Cal 24-17. So it's impressive. I mean, there's no other way to state it. We've talked a lot about Brian Kelly and his record when he's a favorite as opposed to when he's an underdog, and as a favorite, he's been really good. Well, they're a favorite again this week. And you have a guy that's been really good at getting teams ready to play late in the season, been really good in November, been really good as a favorite, been really good at compartmentalizing week to week. And I know LSU fans for so many years have and listen, we talked about this. I know we've talked about this when LSU would play that Alabama game and invariably have that letdown the week later. Well, the big part of that was in the Les Miles era. And I'm not picking on Les. Trust me, I've talked about this both ways. There are different ways to approach a game. Do you either build it up and acknowledge, yes, it's a big game, or do you downplay it? Saban's thing has always been, well, every game's a big game because it's the next game. Les built up the Alabama game. And so often when LSU would build that game up and then they'd lose it, and for all intents and purposes, now that they don't have a tiebreaker against Alabama, they're eliminated from the West race. Now they got to go play Arkansas. And Arkansas thinks it's the Super Bowl, and LSU really doesn't care, and they're deflated. Well, that was how that handled. But I've also pointed out, Ed Orgeron never lost to Arkansas until his final year when he was a lame duck and he made the stupid decision to bench Max Johnson and play freshman Garrett Nussmeier, and they scored 13 points. But from 2016, when he took over as an interim, through 2020, Ed never lost to Arkansas. So, and it didn't matter whether they only beat Bama once in 2019. It didn't matter. He was able to get the team ready to go week to week. That was one thing Ed did very well, actually. And I think Brian Kelly's kind of the same way. You couple KJ Jefferson's injury, stylistically what Arkansas does offensively, they're not built to beat LSU's defense where LSU might be vulnerable. The circumstance of the game, I really don't worry about. I mean, I get the letdown. I get it's a stinky line and all that stuff, but there's so much concrete evidence which suggests LSU's going to be fine in this game. I really think they're going to go up and win this game. They're the better team, and I think they're going to win it. So we'll keep following that progress with KJ Jefferson throughout the weekend. If you see funny line movement on this game as the week moves along, you know that's directly related to KJ Jefferson and his health. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.